to the Urban Action Showcase Virtual Experience Day 3 Behind the Action panel. We've got the ones that bring you the action for some of the greatest action films and TV series that are on television today. I'm joined by our moderator from Kung Fu Drive-In Theater Podcast, Mr. Jeof Vita. Of course, Dan Rizzuto, Vlad Rimberg, Ken Kittigwa, and of course, Brett Chan. Jeff, take it over, brother.
Thank you, Demetrius. Guys, thank you so much for coming back. Always great to talk with you guys and get the insight for behind the action that we all enjoy on screen. So thank you so much for taking some time out to chat. And I want to get into it right away because I only have you for about 45 minutes, and there's so many questions I want to ask. But first off, I want to acknowledge the tragedy with Helena Hutchins and condolences out to her family. And I bring that up because as the guys behind the action, you guys are used to not having your work in the mainstream spotlight. And when it does reach the mainstream spotlight, usually it's for something that's not quite so good. At least that's the way the mainstream portrays it. So I want to get the perspective right for this, and I'll start with you, Brett. Just put it into perspective for us. Where exactly does safety fall in the hierarchy of your protocol? Because I think I know that safety is always job one, but lay it out for us if you could.
Well, we're kind of all responsible for our departments, but overall safety first. I mean, without pointing fingers at anybody, it lays on the first AD who makes sure all the departments are working together with everything. Obviously, we have our bases covered because we want to keep our brothers and sisters safe and the crew and everybody. But usually starts there. But I mean, obviously, with the stunts and all that jazz, it falls on us to make sure that our department is streaming like cohesively together and safety wise. The first AD will lean on us to make sure that we are taking our protocols that we have to do, especially given the nature of our job and what we do. With that saying, there's only so much you can do there. Sometimes stuff happens, but yeah, I mean, we basically train and we do everything we possibly can to always keep safe and keep everyone safe. And that's the best we can do at times. But it does fall onto the first AD. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because he's responsible for the ambulances coming in, all that jazz, and where everyone's the crew standing, where everyone's going, where all that kind of thing. So he's got to mitigate that and just delegate to each department where we should all be.
Dan, how about you? You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brett. I mean, for the most part, the first AD is really in control of a lot of aspects of it. And I will say, for the most part, I think, the stunt department does obviously look after the performers, but I've never met a stunt coordinator that doesn't care about the crew they're working with and is always trying to look out and help out wherever they can. And it's a complete tragedy of what happened. And I think from my understanding of it, from people that were there and from what I've heard is, I mean, you've got to think of how many things had to have gone wrong for that to happen. That just wasn't one thing, and I'm definitely not in a position to be pointing fingers, but that just can't happen. Like, we're making entertainment. We can't have lives lost. The stunt department, we make calculated risks with performers, and the more calculation, the less risk we have. But to have live rounds on set, I mean, for me, there's no reason, no excuse for it.
Vlad, how about you?
Well, as Brett mentioned, the first AD is pretty much going to navigate how the day is running and going. As a stunt performers and as a department, we always do everything that we can to ensure that everyone is as safe as possible. The only thing, again, not pointing fingers, but when you're being rushed, then safety can be jeopardized. But that's why, as a stunt department, we're always asking for time. We're always asking for rehearsal time, not just with our performers, but with our actors as well. So everyone is comfortable and everyone is aware of what's going to happen on the day. Hell yeah, Manny.
Hell yeah.
Manny.
Hello, everyone.
I just want to welcome Manny Manzanares to the broadcast too. Manny, we're just talking about the tragedy of with Helena Hutchins, and talking about where safety falls on your protocol. I'm going to go to Kenny and then I'm going to go to you. But Kenny, give me your take on that and how you approach that whole situation.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is kind of echoing everything basically y'all have said already, but I think it comes down to always trying to prevent the event and kind of to me, like the foundation of safety is always kind of that preparation and almost over communicating the expectations of the day with your crew and making sure everybody understands that's in relative danger of anything happening. I think that that preparation and over communication is critical, and making sure everybody on set knows what's going on and what the expectations are for whatever we're trying to achieve. So always looking to prevent the event, but as Vlad said, we're always kind of, a lot of times, most of the time, we're never given the time we need. So I think that's on us to be as sharp as possible when we're met with those challenges.
Manny, you want to jump in here?
I mean, it sounds like, everyone has echoed the same sentiments, but I think at the end of the day, just people need to realize outside of the industry that there are protocols in place. And I think a lot of times, much I'm sure what my peers have been saying is that things slide, we let things slide a little bit in all aspects. I'm not specifically saying to all departments. And I think there's just sometimes we need to double, triple check those things and just be, have a common denominator of like, how much is too much at a certain point, regardless of budget or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure all of us have started from a, independent to low budget level, and now have obviously gone on to major productions. And I think those things can carry on regardless,
Yeah, you guys have so many things to deal with. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people that you have to keep in mind and keep things going. Do you guys have that power to select the team? I assume that you don't always have the power to do that. And then once you have that team in place, how do you know that you have a team that is going to carry that whole vision forward and do the things that need to be done to get that good stuff on screen? Vlad, how about you take this one first?
Well, as far as the team goes, as a fight coordinator. So when it comes to bringing people on board, I can only suggest guys or fights. The stunt coordinator will go ahead and essentially select the team. But when I work overseas, I try to bring the people that I'm most comfortable with, people that know how I work. I know the way they work. We all understand protocol, and we all have a vision to complete as a unit. You go start with people that you never work with. Everyone has their own ideas of how it should be done. That enforces a priority. There's so many factors involved as well. I get people. It's like, you hire people, you can partner up with people, but you know that it work or don't work, and you go from there. I was in India this year, and I was doing stuff with the players, and what they were doing stuff to do, and within weeks, I knew that I can count on these guys, and that they would ensure that, number one, they would help bring my vision to life, the director's vision to life, but also that they would ensure the safety of our actors and any child actors that were performing in the scene as well. But when we ask these sorts of questions, too many variables are involved again with core teams. I know Brett Chan can select his team. I think he can. But for me, it's only at that stage when I'm working internationally, like on an Indian production.
Brett, since he called you out there, you speak to that?
Thanks, Vlad. Selecting the team is always particular. I mean, you have the choice depending on the show you're on. Like when I go to show like Warrior or Marco, whatever, these shows that I can bring mass people, then I can pick a team. When it comes to other departments, I can't really pick it. But if I have a relationship with the producers, then I can kind of recommend for certain things. But I always make sure like I have a no a-hole policy, which is very important because if I'm working a job with someone for 8 months, I want to make sure he's not a jerk. Not just to me, but to the team or to the crew or to everyone in general. Because if I die tomorrow, at least I know the last 6 months I enjoyed my time on the show, and we all enjoyed it together, kind of thing. If I hated my life prior to that, then what was it all worth it? So I always try to pick guys that can be very family oriented, guys that multitask, so they can do different things. Like one can perform, can previs, one guy can do certain things, So therefore, we're keeping all bases covered, and we can kind of get everything's kind of going from that point. And it's very important to be family dynamic wise. And I think for everyone can speak that way. I mean, Vlad's not going to pick guys that are going to be jackasses in the show because he's got to work with them in a foreign country. You need all the help you can get. And I'm pretty sure Manny knows that, and Dan, Ken, you guys all know that because we'd rather be next to you guys because it makes creative processes working better. It makes your department friendliness with other departments working better. It just makes the whole experience worthwhile being there, especially when you're away from your families for so long. Some of these guys I know Manny's got like kids and family, so for him to be away, to be on Titans for like 5 months, I mean, he's got to be around guys he's going to enjoy. Otherwise, it's not worth it. He can be with his family. Kind of thing.
Yeah, Manny, you want to take that?
For the record, they were terrible. I'm just kidding. No, they were fantastic. And Brett and Blood speaks a great point. Is that the team that we had on Titans, which a lot of them have been around since season 1, and I came into it later half of the second season. When it was my turn, when Larnell started to direct, and I would help Brian Hill co-coordinate. It's exactly Brett's point. And Vlad's point is picking the people that we can, but yes, at times we are limited because of the budget constraints, let's say for per episode, or if you're on a film, just, per sequence. But that being said, I think, having the right tools and friends in the sense of knowing a solid network of people, if you need to, this person's unavailable, we need this other person, and then bringing them in, and then just being very clear, like Brett was saying about, hey, here's the policies and protocols we'd like to achieve. This is what we're trying to achieve, for our work. And then let's just make it happen, and then any issues that kind of come about, it's less about differences, and it's much more about like, how can we solve this together? And then exactly how can we then deal, but not even deal, help other departments. So at the end of the day, we're all going to set in the right manner. Because of course, the moment a ball is dropped, everyone's very quick to be like, well, that's not my department, and that's not this, and that's not that. And I've just been very lucky to be mentored in a way where it's like, hey, we're all making the same thing. We're all going to make mistakes in some way, as long as they're, A, not severe, and B, something that can be preventable, right? Things fall through the cracks as they do. But the more we all work together, I mean, yeah, that's how we're able to create great product, as a team.
Kenny, as one of the OG indie action filmmakers, what's your take on this?
Oh, you say OG, but I feel like in terms of actual professional work here, I'm definitely the rookie on the panel here. But it was very important for me to surround myself and to bring on, specifically for the Paper Tigers, having people that knew way more than me about the process, way more than me about protocol and safety and everything involved in action design and stunt coordinating. And that's why I was fortunate enough to have Sam Locke and Kerry Wong, who I've been close friends with for quite some time, early 2000s. So I had that built-in history and rapport with them already, and that made things flow in the creative process. To Brett's point, just everything was kind of just it just meshed a lot easier, and those creative challenges and trying to develop the design was a lot easier to be able to just kind of talk to friends about it versus kind of like coworkers. You know what I mean? Like it was more of a free flow kind of riff process versus feeling like, we have a job to do. So I was lucky in that sense to be surrounded by people that I considered friends. I know that's not always the case, but and it's hard to always compare those kinds. I mean, I've even worked with Vlad and Manny on on this panel on Lucky Stars, and when we're working together, and you're surrounded by people with like-minded intentions, it's always going to be the best result. You're always going to feel the best about the work you do together when you're surrounded by people that are on the same page and you've had that opportunity to level set. And just to know you guys are all, we're all sharing the effort, and we're all carrying our share of the load. So that's super, super important. And just back to the Paper Tigers. If it wasn't for those two gentlemen, and I don't think we would have come anywhere near completing my task if it wasn't for those guys.
That's awesome. Dan, you're constantly shouting out your team. You're constantly talking about the support that you have and the way your team pulls together. Give me your take on this.
Well, I mean, I think the people you hire, honestly, I try to hire everybody that's better than I am. I mean, when you're coordinating shows, you're thrown things that you might not know as well as somebody else, and to not hire the people that are better than you in that regard, then it makes no sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the production, and they're the one that are paying us to deliver what we can. And if you're not a driver, but you have a driving sequence, you hire the best drivers you can. So it's really about surrounding yourself with like-minded professionals that are as good or better than you are.
That's cool. Yeah. Just, I don't know if you guys see the chat, but Art Camacho posted a comment in there. He said accidents do happen from time to time, but he's not going to be rushed beyond the safety comfort level. So I'm sure that's a sentiment that you all echo. Let's talk about another aspect of your jobs. One of you touched on it, fulfilling the director's vision. You don't always have a say in the vision that gets presented on screen. You're often doing your best to bring that director's vision to life. What are some of the moments that you use to show that you're advancing the director's vision and the story in the action that you guys put together? Let me go to Manny first.
Well, I think a big thing is just involving yourself, from the beginning, just in full pre-production. Even before, if you can get anything besides the script, any kind of concept work or arc or lookbooks or things like that. So that way, even that gives you a sense of how the world may look, how the characters might be presented. That gives you a base to then start asking questions like, if we're in this world or in this time, who might be fighting like who? What are you thinking of visually? And sometimes they know those things and sometimes they don't, but definitely getting yourself in there as early as you can, if possible. And then just showing the value of that too. Just showing the benefit of going overall as you go through production and then obviously into executing it, kind of keeping that fine line in between. But there are going to be cases where, you come in with the best intentions and the directors just kind of tell you to stay in your lane. And I think it's just bound to happen in these obvious, creative outputs that we do. I think it's bound to be. But, a great thing that I learned from JJ Perry was, at the end of the day, it's like you always have to think about, regardless of what position you're in, as you come up, like let's say in our industry, as you move from, let's say, to stunt coordinator, second year director, they probably don't want you to be there because that means that you're getting a piece of their pie technically, right? So the less that you have an expectation that there's always going to be this, I guess like amicable relationship, the more you realize like you're there to service them, right? Much like what Dan was talking about. So at the end of the day, just remember that. And that way you're not super married to the work, but you're also understanding the goal. You're understanding the mission at hand. So, sometimes those people that are hard-headed at the end of it all, they're like, oh man, you know what? Thanks. Thanks for sticking through it, because they might just be so tunnel visioned on what they're doing. And others are different. So I just think, at the end of the day, if you just stay focused and get in there as early as you can, hopefully you'll have something really good by the end.
I want to touch on that focus in a little bit, but let me go to Vlad. Vlad, what about what's your take on this?
Well, along with getting as much information as you can about the sequence that you're going to design for your director, I think something that's a powerful tool is Previs. That's something that can possibly get all the departments on board, get everybody excited. If you know what you're doing and you have a great product, usually people respond. But like Manny said, there are directors out there that are like, I don't want any sound effects. I don't want any music. I don't want anything. Don't try to get detailed with the shots. Just give me a reference and I'll figure it out on the day. And it's like, that's great. And at that point, there's really nothing you can do because the boss man has spoken, right? And you can only respect their decision and their ideas that they're going to go ahead and produce on the day. But if it doesn't come out the way you want it and you shot an amazing previs, put the previs out. I mean, I always refer to Iron Fist season 1, okay? Because I feel like the stunt team got done dirty, right? It's true. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brett. But I you know, like the previses that were put out were completely different than the final product, and they were great. So, you know, what happens when everyone gets on board, they get excited on the day, they shoot stuff, and then you look at the final product and you're like, huh, what happened here? I mean, I hate to admit it, but that's what kind of happened on Lucifer season 6. You know, I'm watching and it's like, oh, there's an elbow that completely missed on the #1 show in the world. Like, what's happening over here? So in that case, I mean, again, the best thing you can do is you can come on in, you can give it your all, but like Manny said, don't get married to it, don't get attached to it. If there is a huge hardcore problem with you in the industry, go and shoot stuff on your own, right? Let the world know what kind of creative ideas you have. And if you want to share it with production or, you know, you send it off to people, go ahead and do that. But as designers, we're not always going to get final say. And the best thing we can do is just remember that we're getting paid handsomely to fulfill someone else's vision the best that we can.
Right? He called you out again, so let me have you take this.
Lad's always doing that, especially because he's always busy. Never hire the guy. Yeah, it's just like you said the word Iron Fist. I get PTSD every once in a while, so it's one of those things. And you know, I know that because Vlad and Manny did a big shout out to the team saying, "What went wrong?" Because the team was solid. Thank you very much again, guys. No, it's completely right. There are a lot of directors who you know, depending on the experience, they don't want to let the reins go. So like, no. So you have to be, as a designer, to be very careful about what you present things. If you present things that are way too much and they don't understand how it's shot, they'll go, whoa. I don't want any of that, because they don't know how to do it and they won't know how to do it. They can't figure it out. And so if you're doing it and just kind of, for some reason, they get all emasculated, or, you know, it's odd. But then there are some directors that understand the process and they understand that you're just there to help them make their vision come to life. And as long as you keep their points alive, because when, like, let's say Lonnie Prester, like when we sit down, we talk, or Jonathan Tropper from The Warrior, they're like, okay, Brett, this is what I need. The story is written out here, but you obviously go do some cool stuff, but just keep my points in there. And as long as I'm respectful enough to keep their story points in there for the characters, in the arc of where they are, which they always do. I always choreograph the fights according to the characters first. I go back to the characters and I put them in the story, and then I basically generate where they are, how they are, where their mode is, what happened in their life, and then I create the choreo from that way. And they have their story marks in there, and they always love it, and they take your ideas at that point, because they know you're not just looking at cool moves for a fight. And as long as you can gain their trust that way, that, you know, because stunt guys are pigeonholed as just guys who just can't do drama, or we don't understand that. We just do fight, punch, kick, and we're just stunt monkeys. But as long as they understand that you think about that, and as a designer, you have to come across it. You have to be very expressive, whether it's visually, like you can get up there and do it themselves, because generally if they can't see it, I'll do the moves. And I know Dan does that too. Or I'll bring the guys in and I'll show them, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, that was kind of cool." And then we talk about character. You know, I know that when you guys are doing your choreo, you know, let's say Robin's gonna move very different from like Changeling. And if you make them all look exactly the same when they're moving, then it's just, it's boring. But as long as you're giving their characters completely different movement styles and character, then the directors actually see that, because it's part of the story. So I'm very cognizant of that, because I know that, you know, like I'm here with Tim Burton, and I'm second directing and choreographing some stuff for him too. And he was very apprehensive at first. Oh no, you know, it's stunt guys, don't worry about it. And he gave me a job to do second direct on this thing. And I did it, but I gave his characters, because the characters are very different moving. Although they're all fencing, but it's very different, each character on the personality type. And after the first while, he was very pushbacky, but then he saw me do it, and he was like, oh, great. Now he's getting my trust, and now he lets me do it for him. And so that's what you have to do with everyone, because you have to understand that they're the captain of the ship. You can't put your ambitions further than theirs. You'll definitely feel it. You have to always make sure that you understand that they know, that you know that it's they're driving the ship. You are just helping their vision come to life. And when you have that, you can do so much. They'll let the reins go. And that's what happened with being a warrior. And Jonathan lets me have creative control. He lets me put input in. He lets me design it. He lets me shoot the action, shoot the drama in the action, and lets me edit it. So with me, Johnny, and Jason Ning now, so we're basically doing the whole thing. And I mean, the product it comes up pretty good. I mean, you look at Warrior and Iron Fist kind of thing, you kind of tell. It's just Iron Fist was just difficult because nobody wanted to release. You had Netflix saying no, we want this. Marvel saying we want this. You had the director saying we want this, but then you have guys coming in saying no, do this. And like there was no, and then you had the talent that did want to participate and that didn't. So it all depends on that.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
many factors into doing it.
I rambled on too long there. Next. Vlad, stop calling me out.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say, I think it goes to show when you have the action team have a lot of control over the final product, it's gonna turn out good. It's gonna turn out better than if they didn't. I think I can say that.
Kenny, as the self-described rookie here, what's your observations on all of this?
I've learned so much already from these guys, but I think a big part of it is really being able to, if you're able to, check your ego at the door and have that discipline and respect for what you're doing, because ultimately, whether the sides or the sequence that you're brought on for, that's your design brief. Those are your orders, and I think that's ultimately what you're there brought on to do. And the more you can, like to Brett's point, earn the trust and show through your preparation and what you're thinking, however that's expressed, if it in a way is able to communicate to the director or whoever's involved with the story, that has control over the story, is able to believe that you understand what their intentions are, I think that's when you have the best success. And that's when you get to kind of stretch a little bit more than if you just went in there kind of cold and boxed in, just doing movements. So this is when we really get the opportunity to be artistic and to kind of flourish, is if you do earn the trust of those around you, beyond our department. So, but again, my experience only involves working with people that I've had years of development with Bao and Carrie and Sam. So in my case, I had a long time with the story, and so there was the trust already built in before we stepped on set that, I had been sitting with these sequences for a long time, and I had conversations with Bao and weekly, all the time. We were always trying to develop like what was going to be our perspective. So just having that access and having that trust with who's in charge is probably the most importance, I think.
Yeah. Now, Dan, you've had the opportunity to be in the driver's seat and craft the vision from beginning to end with Torn. So what's your take on fulfilling someone else's vision?
Well, a perspective to look at is, I think everybody could agree here, this isn't a job for us. It's more of a lifestyle. We're in it because we love it. And it can become increasingly difficult when you're working with, I'm just going to say it, there's a lot of directors that just shouldn't be where they are right now. And, not understanding the game. And it's frustrating for us because we love the game. It's not just one aspect of it. Like, we understand camera, we understand angles, we understand editing, we understand, like Brett's saying, of how to develop action for a specific character, not just let's do this because it's cool. And it can kind of be disheartening and frustrating to watch something that you know has great potential to happen and to be edited and to come out for the world to see. And in some ways, it's a reflection of what you've put into it. And it is kind of rare that you're looking at something, a final product, going like, man, that is 100% exactly what I envisioned, you know, and you sit back and you kind of like, oh, where did this edit go? Where did this happen? And the previs looks so rad and so cool, but then whether it was changing hands because the producer wanted this cut or the director wanted this, or the editor who's never edited action before thought this might look cool, you know, it's frustrating. And for me, it took, you know, 20 years in the business to get one show that I was actually really happy with the action that turned out with it. It ended up being a TV show, which I never thought it was. And that was on Woo, where we were putting, but that's because we also had a talent level that within TV time, we could actually choreograph some stuff and have it done, you know, but it's still, I mean, it's different when it's different when you put your heart and soul into it and you care and you want it to be something. And when you see a train wreck happening in front of you. So like everybody's saying, it's important to have a good team. It's important to have I mean, we can't all be Brett Chan, right? And get the editing and stuff like that takes a lot of work to get there, you know, but it's like, but if you can get that, it's amazing because like Vlad's saying is, man, could you imagine what you put together from edits, had the opportunity to sit and post and edit it how it was and shot it how a lot of the time, not all, but a lot of the time, just elevated compared to what's being put out there. And the action audience wants to see, and that's why they're watching it. So in some ways I see it changing a bit, but there's still, you know, that the ego involved with, like Brett's saying, if you're working with the director who doesn't understand a certain something and sees it, he's like, oh, no, I just want, he falls down because that's what he understands, you know, and hopefully it keeps shifting. The pendulum keeps shifting. The creatives in the action world are getting more and more control because you're honestly going to see in viewership and action. So for my movie was simple. I wanted to do a drama. It was an important topic. And I just wanted to also, part of it was to showcase, because like everybody knows here, they just look at stunt guys a lot of the time, camera and shoot something exploding. And it's like, man, we spend a lot of time on set in our craft that we understand it a lot better than some of the people that get in the positions they do on set.
So we're definitely going to touch on that right now, actually. Dan, let me stay with you then. I know you guys are all professionals, and you've all talked about being 100% committed to the game. But in those instances where you know you're working on something that is going to be a clunker, what are you calling on to maintain that commitment to continue to produce the best possible action, given a situation that you know is completely out of your hands and is just not going to be something that you probably want to be remembered for?
Well, for me, it's easy. It's just to know the show ends and a new one begins. And, you know, some shows are those shows you never to end. You're like, man, I hope this goes on for 18 seasons, or I hope this gets like 6 different takes on it. But then you're on the shows that are like, man, I just can't wait to end. And, you know, that's kind of like this thing that I'm working on now. It's $100 million budget. And I'm just like, damn, it's like an advent calendar, a little chocolate every day, 18 more days to go. And then I'm done, you know, because it's just that way. But you look forward to the ones that you do. And for these guys like Vlad too, it's in between projects. We all like to do our own little projects, you know, it helps develop us. We can put it out and it gets you closer and closer to the driver's seat of what you want to do. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's knowing it's ending.
Vlad, he called you out. So what's your take on it?
I'm going to absolutely agree. It's knowing that at a certain time, we all have to wrap and go home. Not necessarily like, oh, it's going to end in 18, 20 days, but just knowing that I'm not stuck here for the rest of my life. You know, there are people that have a 9 to 6 job and they want to get out, but they just don't know how. In our industry, at least we know that it'll be over at some point. And the best thing that you can do is just, you know, be as professional as you can watching that train wreck. You can come in, you can voice your opinion as respectfully as you can, so that way no one gets butt hurt. But at the end of the day, you know, there's really nothing you can do because someone else is in charge of the set. Someone else is in charge of the show. Someone else is in charge of directing everything. But what was said earlier, how the stunt community is slowly getting, let's just say, more power in this industry. I think as that continues to evolve, hopefully there'll be less standing around and waiting for, you know, the clock to strike midnight or whatever time, so that way we can go home. You know, we go home, we have a beer, we do whatever it is, and it's like, okay, get up in the morning next day. But the best thing that you can do in a situation like that, if it's a train wreck, is create an environment for you that's ideal for you to be around. Meaning, like, all the other people on set, get friendly with them, get to know them. So that way, watching the chaos happen, at least everyone's kind of happy, you know, to be around you, to be amongst other people, because they're going to give each other looks, and it's like, I know what's going to happen here. It's not going to work out, and we're going to end up doing this for like 2-3 hours, and then we're going to fix it, and then it's going to get done in 5 minutes, and everyone's going to be like, why didn't we just do this and this and that? And it's like, you're always seeing those looks happen. And that's the best thing you can do. That's the best way you can fight back, is give those looks to your colleagues, and it's like, and from there, you also learn why it's a train wreck, why it's not working out. And then you do the best job that you can to make sure that next time, you know, you can try and prevent that from happening.
Kenny, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's from a positive lens. It's like when you're in the depths and you know, we're fortunate enough to do what we do. I think it's remembering the privilege of being a creative and doing this as, you know, this is a job and we were getting paid to do this. That's the positive. But I guess from the other side of it, it's like knowing that you're walking away and you know that you put your best foot forward, and it's not falling on you, that the reason things are falling apart. I can feel okay walking away. I mean, it's like you said, the sky's not falling after this production ends. It's like, I'll move on to the next. But I think just knowing that you did your best, as cliche as that is, just I would feel okay walking away knowing that I did my best, and I tried to impart as much positivity and creative contribution to it. If I walk away knowing that I did that, I can sleep at night.
All right, cool. Manny, how about you?
Yeah, I think everyone has, you know, touched upon very similar themes, and really the two things that I have is, you know, number one, exactly like what Vlad was saying, is to embrace it. The more you embrace the world that you're experiencing, the easier it is to manage it. You know, absolutely. I think too many times I have seen, you know, people get hung up on exactly that. Of course, you want to give your heart and do your best, but then there's just some times where the reality is the reality. But the irony is, the more you embrace it as you're going through it, and exactly like what Vlad touched upon, you develop better relationships with crew that you may work with on the next project or 2 projects down. You know, you develop a better working relationship with the team that you normally tend to hire. And then you also develop ideas that ironically can be used, you know, months, years, whichever, from then on a different project that they didn't want to allow you to do. And then of course you go and do it, and then lo and behold, it works. But you've had that experience and time to see, you know, can it work? How much time do I really need or have, you know, things like that. And then the second thing is just exactly like putting your best into it, but just understanding that it's perspective, right? Everyone has a process. Like, look at all the top, you know, directors and second year directors and coordinators, you know, that before were very much like in Vlad and myself's position. We're stunt guys and now fight coordinators, and then, you know, choreographing, and then moving up to stunt coordinating. Everybody makes a clunker in the sense of sometimes it's what you're handled, right? But then all those lessons learned, they go and do something like a John Wick, an Atomic Blonde, you know, a Hobbs and Shaw. And it's like you understand everything that you've learned from all those perspectives from before. And much like Vlad's saying, a lot of those guys too shot or made stuff in between, you know, for themselves in order to continue learning. So yeah, just be open to everything and just keep learning.
Yeah. All right. We've already done 40 minutes, and we're going to have to get going soon, but I don't want to skip out on this last part. So, Brett, give me your take really quickly, and then let me know what you're currently working on so that we can continue to follow your adventures.
My take on what, well, anyways, you know, you make the contract, you sign it, you know, you got to commit, you got to be professional. The best way to do it is surround yourself with the right people. So no matter what, if it sucks, it'll all suck for all you guys, and you'll take comfort in that and being through the trenches together. Anyways, and you just do the best job you can do. Yeah. First of all, though, like, I'm not a master editor. I don't know about Ken, but I know that Vlad, Manny, and Dan are all stellar editors. They do everything. And let's see, I'm on Wednesday right now, which is Addams Family, The Dark Turn Twist. I'm second director on this one. I got a show I'm supposed to be directing in Thailand next year early. I no longer will be on Halo, but I'm doing Warrior right afterwards. And then I have another show called, well, the title's changed. So anyways, that's pushed to early next year, which we'll shoot in South Africa or maybe Budapest. And then I just am developing another script right now, which I'm directing as well, which will be right afterwards. And that's supposed to happen in somewhere in Europe. We haven't decided yet. And that's all for now.
Very cool. Very cool.
Maybe one of these guys will be available to come work because they're all so freaking busy. Dan's working with Halo, you know. Manny, you just can't find him anywhere. Vlad's on everything. Ken's just my padre, my buhay, man. Just met him now, so.
Kenny, give us an update on what you're working on. What's coming next from you?
Oh man, I'm just trying to stay fit, trying to pick up new skills. You know, kind of working on a couple projects here with maybe Vlad in the future. We got some stuff that we've been talking about. You know, just some stuff to stay creative, but nothing locked or too specific to look forward to. So, hey, I'm here, Brett. So. Give me a call.
Good enough. Manny, give us an update.
I am working on something that I cannot talk about. Hell yeah.
What did I tell you? It's all the secret stuff, but man, you can't find him anywhere.
That's awesome.
Yes. You know, if I do talk about it, then you know, obviously I will not be working on it anymore. So
of course. All right, understood. Dan, give us your update.
I'm currently working on a project called The Mother that's in the media, JLo project for Netflix. And after that, I'm jumping over to work with some people that I'm crazy excited to work with. And I have a small budget given to me by a studio to do a proof of concept and have a couple actors signed to a project I'm really excited about that we've been back and forth with the studios, but we'll see where it ends up because, you know, they want something different than I want, and I don't want to bend. So.
Yeah. All right, Vlad, give us the last word then. What's going on with you?
I'm in that phase where I'm home and I'm shooting some projects. Ken and I may or may not have something planned. But other than that, you know, Manny and I were supposed to be in Abu Dhabi, but things didn't work out. That's the industry. So I've decided to take some time and use that time for me and my friends. But December 24th, a superhero movie comes out from India. And when we talk about, you know, having control over everything, I think this is the first time on any production where I've had the most amount of control. So I'm really excited to see the final product. And I hope I don't have to give the executive producer a call. I'll be like, what happened? But yeah, December 24th on Netflix.
What's it called?
Minal Murali.
That's awesome. Hey, Sonny Cison hopping in there really quickly. Just want to say hello. Sonny, I'll have to get you back on the show and get all your take on all of this stuff. But fortunately, now I have to wrap it up and say again, thank you to all of you guys for hopping on here. You know, I'm a big fan of all of your work, and I love getting your insights on everything that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you so much. Sonny, we'll talk. But I'm going to kick it back to Demetrius. Thank you so much, guys.
Definitely. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving us that seminar on Behind the Action. I really appreciate you guys' support for the past 2 years. Thank you for doing what you do, man. You make the genre the genre that it is, and that is the blockbuster genre, and we appreciate it. Up next at 3 o'clock, we have director Mario Van Peebles for the 30th anniversary of New Jack City. So join us for that. We appreciate you guys. Everybody stay safe, and I hope to see you guys in the near future. God bless.